Hello again. This is FSH Society's Story Time with Belinda Miller. I'll be reading again from Winterfrost, the first book in the series Phillips' Quest. Enjoy! Chapter 5 The Dream. As you are, as you are, A to Z, you are, mumbled Phillips in his sleep. What in the world is he saying, thought Ivy. Not wanting to disturb his uneasy slumber, Ivy tiptoed around Phillips and covered him with one of her softest knit blankets. I'll just leave him. Poor sweetheart. She covered him over and laid a gentle kiss on his nose. Sleep well, my prince, sleep well. A to Z. You are, as you are, as you are, you are. Philip was certainly dreaming and saying those words over and over. In his dream, Philip saw the blue witch lights dancing in the room of the castle that he loved so much. He was in Grandma Holly's room, filled to the ceiling with volumes and volumes of books. As the blue twinkling lights lit up the books, they slid in and out of their spots on the shelves. First one book, then another. Up and down, back and forth, top and bottom. The books seemed to drone like buzzing bees, but with some sort of melody. Other books that were laying about, some green, some blue, and some even purple, flipped their pages, back and forth and back, making a drumming sound. The twinkling blue lights seemed to have a life of their own. A few times, Philip tried to grab them, but the lights would dart off as if they were teasing him. He even thought he heard them giggle. As you are, A to Z you are, muttered Philip. Why was he in that room? Where was Grandma Holly? Why isn't Sallow here? When will he hear the story? Azor, here? A to Z infinity. Where? Philip's mumbling became more distinctive. He woke up and sat straight up in his chair. He felt as if someone was in the room with him, but all he could see were the blue lights, twinkling blue witch lights, and then orbs, blue orbs. 20, 15, 10, 5. The orbs are getting bigger. 4, bigger. 3, bigger still. 2, oh my, 1. An orb larger than the gnome's height hovered silently in front of him. He reached out to touch it, but the glowing blue orb backed up, as if it were taking stock of him. It brushed against Philip's arm slightly as it glided behind him. He felt a cool breeze and heard a swish of air as the orb slid by. Again, Scylla tried to touch the floating blue orb. This time, as he did, the orb did not move. Scylla saw his hand disappear in the orb. When he retrieved it, his hand glowed as brightly as the floating light. Scylla examined his hand, turning it over and over, playing really, and no longer paid attention to the orb. Suddenly, he began to shiver and grabbed for the blanket that Ivy had used to cover him while he was sleeping. Where was it? He couldn't find it, and he was so very cold. There it was. It had fallen to his feet. He bent down to grab the blanket, but he realized it was gone. Cold, shivery, shivery cold, he murmured. When Scylla looked up from searching for the blanket, the orb had materialized. Chapter 6. Azor, the Blue Witch. As Phillips watched in amazement, the blue orb slowly began to fade from the bottom up. The tips of what seemed to be the toes began to emerge. Then many tail, white toes with pale blue toenails. Slowly, the toes blended into feet. Phillips was indeed shocked, but surprisingly not very afraid. Gnome farmers were not exactly warrior dwarfs, but they were known at times to muster a bit of courage when the time was right. Confident in his new sound bravery, Philip bent down close to the floor and tried to touch the emerging tail toes. He only used one finger, of course, just in case he lost it. As he was about to touch a toe, it wiggled. Philip let out a little yelp. "Oh, gracious, gracious!" and jumped back. As he was busy examining his own two fingers and counting them over and over, he didn't even notice that the orb had advanced into a manifestation. Toes, feet, and now a blue, shiny robe began to take shape. Philip looked up and saw an ethereal blue creature with long, slender fingers wrapped around a tall silver shaft. Philip was frozen. He couldn't move, he couldn't speak, and he couldn't even blink. All he could do was gaze up at the towering figure and its glowing staff. The twinkling blue lights converged at the top of the staff, and their brilliance was blinding. Philip tried to shield his eyes with his hand. "I'm blind!" cried Philip. "Blind! Blind!" He began to panic, and his head filled with awful thoughts, terrible thoughts, like he may never see his precious Ivy. As he removed his hands from the stunned eyes, all he could see was the blue light. Now he was frozen and blind. At once the orb settled at the top of the staff, and the brilliant light began to diminish. They started to resonate a gentle hiss, and Scylla thought he could hear them whispering, Azor, Azor, here, here, Azor, A to Z infinity. Phillips rubbed his sore eyes and started to regain his voice. His pupils were still a bit dilated, but as the lights dimmed, he began to see shapes. The figure in front of him was tall, much taller than the gnome. Philip could tell that it wore a deep blue robe with a hood. He saw a magnificent, sparkling blue sapphire medallion hanging from its neck. Philip took a few steps back to look up at the figure's face, but there was none. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Azor, is that you? Please say that's you. Philip heard a deep, throaty chuckle emanate from behind the orb. It is, little one, replied the Warlock. I'm having some problems with this orb, not wanting to go, but, there. There we go. It's gone now. Finally, hearing the Warlock's voice, Philip immediately felt relaxed. The awful thoughts were gone, and his vision had returned to normal. A calm swept over him, like he had never felt before. A face emerged from behind the orb and glowed softly with a beautiful blue aura, like a piece of blue labradorite. Its gaze bellowed forth enchanting colors of blue, purple, and crimson as it took shape. There stood Azor, the Warlock, in all his magnificence. He brushed back his heavy blue hood to reveal a head of long, flowing platinum hair that ticked up and reflected the blue luster of the floating witch lights. The Warlock's face was as white as the finest chiseled marble. His cheeks glowed from within, and his lips were perfectly shaped and seemed translucent, like a piece of perfect rose quartz. They never moved. And his eyes, Azor's eyelids closed and opened slowly. They were oval and wide, resembling the great cats that Philip had heard about that prowled the lands beyond the great granite mountains. The Warlock's eyes were lined in a deep iris rim, and it was said that they changed colors according to his moods. This night, however, they radiated like the most perfect blue diamond, deep and pure. In fact, Azor's eyes were smiling at the now calmed little gnome that stared in disbelief at him. Philip was captivated by the Warlock's diamond blue eyes and felt another surge of panic overtake him. The letter, thought Philip. I didn't read the letter. I didn't even open it. How could I have forgotten? Oh, my nuts and taters, I'm going to be toast. Without any movement of his lips, Azor spoke to Phillips again. The letter is not where you left it, dear one. You are uneasy and fear of losing you. Hid it after you fell into your deep, deep sleep. She loves you so, and I'm afraid, Philip, she's right. A smart little lady she is. Oh, moaned Philip. She meant no disrespect on all she has. No need to fear, Philip. Izzy is safe from me. She did what she did out of love. Her true love for you. That is never a wrong. Azor moved closer to Philip and sat down in a chair next to him. Sit down, Philip, Azor commanded gently. I have something very important to talk to you about. You knew that, though, didn't you? Philip blinked and nodded his head. Dark times are approaching, Philip, continued the Warlock. The gnome gasped. What did he mean by dark times? Things couldn't be better. Twisted Oak was thriving. The land was producing. Babies are being born, and people were happy. How could there be dark times? Your world, my dear gnome, is changing, said Azor. I've been traveling this world and others for many years. The army of the Red Witch is growing, and her bitterness for your way of life knows no end. She's been watching your village for years. I'm fairly certain that she's found the book and has begun to use it. I need your help, Philip. Philip sat back in his chair and was stunned. He had heard the stories about how the Blue Witch had saved great-grandpa and great-grandma Tudor from being swallowed whole by the Nestor. How he had helped them cross the deserts and plains to find and settle Twisted Oak. The gnomes owed everything to the kindness and guidance of the Blue Witch. He, in turn, loved the gnomes and was always there when he needed him. But now he needed them.